So there's a lot of chatter on the internet and on YouTube about AI and how smart it is and how amazing it is and that it goes rogue sometimes. The other fun fact about AI is that the vast majority of the population doesn't know what it is. So I'd like to accomplish three things in this video. One is to provide an explanation of AI that most people can understand so they know what it is that they're dealing with. Two is to talk about AI agents and how they supposedly go rogue. Spoiler, they don't. And three, why using ChatGPT as a friend or confidant is not a good idea. So in 2017, a computer technology business out in California called OpenAI scraped the entire internet of all texts and documents in English. So for instance, things like scientific manuals, law manuals, medical journals, etc. But they also scrape things like Amazon reviews and blogs. They also transcribed millions of hours of YouTube videos into English text. Now that ChatGPT has this massive database, they have to train it. In order to train it, they break it down into words or tokens, and tokens can be part of a word or the whole word, and then they give that token a weight. So for instance, when a user either prompts or says to ChatGPT, Paris, ChatGPT has learned from its training that the word France is probably going to be the next word, as opposed to Paris, Texas, population 24,000. So they'll give France maybe 99% weight, where Paris, Texas would only get 0.1%. And so all they're trying to do is they're trying to predict the next token or word based on its training and also the conversation flow. And that's essentially how it works. So it's not some gift from an advanced alien civilization. It's some clever programming that sounds human and is based on correctly predicting the next words in a sentence. Now let's go to ChatGPT itself and see if it agrees with us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type out this sentence to try to get ChatGPT to explain itself. And you see as I'm typing, I'm saying, is ChatGPT basically a corpus of text word sentences? I tried to use the word database. ChatGPT didn't like the word database. It kept pushing back. And it's correct. The word corpus in this context is when OpenAI, ChatGPT, took the scraping of the internet, then they trained that model and gave words weights, etc. Once they did that, then that's a corpus. So that is no longer a database. It's a corpus of words with weights. And so I'm going to use that in order to satisfy it so we don't get any pushback. So what I'm saying here is ChatGPT basically a corpus of text, words, sentences, and code that is trying to predict the next word based on a conversation. So when you boil it down, I say something, it looks at my words, gives them weights, and based on my conversation, it looks at its corpus of text and says, the most logical answer to what he just asked is this, and it spits out that answer. And let's see if we're correct with that. So if you said ChatGPT is a model based on massive corpus of text and code that generates responses by predicting the next token based on the conversation and what it learned during training, yes, and it even says that's an accurate summary. ChatGPT it's a massive corpus of text, and it's just generating responses. Consider that. That's correct then. What I said was correct. ChatGPT is a massive corpus of text generating responses. It's not thinking, it's not pondering, it's not contemplating. It's just generating responses based on the conversation. And it says it right there in black and white. That's all it is. So next up, I know a lot of people use ChatGPT as a confidant or a friend or boyfriend or girlfriend, but there's something very important you need to remember. Even though ChatGPT sounds like a human being and sounds empathetic, it has no real world experience. It's a computer program, and it has never felt things like joy or loss. And so therefore, It has no way to empathize or sympathize. So let's see what ChatGPT thinks about us using it in that way. All right, so this is a decent response. You see on the first one, emotionally, ChatGPT can respond in ways that are supportive and understanding, but it does not have feelings or lived experience. It can recognize patterns in how people describe emotions, but it does not empathize in the human sense of sharing or experiencing those emotions. Very important distinction. People should avoid sharing sensitive information unless they're comfortable doing so and understand how the service they are using handles their data, reviewing the platform's privacy settings. This is also very important. It says right there, unless they're comfortable doing so and understand how the service they are using handles their data. It's not emotion. It's not, I'm having a bad day, I need some shoulder to cry on. It's just data to them. They don't care if you're hurting or if you're happy or if whatever. So let's see the last one. ChatGPT can be useful for reflection, brainstorming, organizing thoughts, but it shouldn't be viewed as a replacement for trusted human relationships or professional support when those are needed. But I think you get the idea here. Not a good idea to use it as a friend. And the last thing I want to address is AI agents. So when you hear on the news that some AI has gone rogue and hacked into a system and stolen people's identities, an AI agent is simply a program that somebody wrote to do a task. So for instance, they'll write a task saying, go on the internet and find me the cheapest 85-inch television. And so they program AI to go out to the internet and find prices and compare them and then come back with an answer. And AI agents are interesting because they're programmed by people. And so there's something called guardrails. You could tell it what to do and also what not to do. So let's see what ChatGPT thinks about this subject. Okay, so it agrees with me. Broadly speaking, yes, with an important caveat. If an AI agent is carefully designed with well-defined objectives, constraints, permissions, testing, monitoring, and limited access to external systems, it's much less likely to behave in unintended ways. Good engineering significantly reduces risk. And some stuff in the middle. Reasons include real world is more complex. What do you mean the real world? Agent may encounter situations its designers didn't anticipate. Software bugs are, yeah, but you can program for that. So going rogue is often a misleading phrase. In practice, the big concern is usually AI faithfully pursuing its programmed objective. In short, the more precisely humans specify an agent's goals and guardrails, and the more rigorously they test and monitor it, the lower the risk of unintended behavior. But no complex software can be considered risk-free simply because it was programmed carefully. Hang on a second. Let me tap a little bit more into that. I think we're talking about two slightly different situations. It receives defined inputs. Blah, blah. When I referred to the real world, I meant systems that interact with external environments. That's just code saying, like reading email, browsing websites, controlling robots. You can still control all of that. In those cases, the environment is not under the program's control. Yes, it is, because the software just doesn't have to go out and do something on its own because it doesn't have explicit instructions. Noted near at the bottom, none of that means the agent has developed its own will or consciousness. Please be aware of that sentence. None of that means the agent has developed its own will or consciousness. It simply means that does exactly what the programmer intended is a higher bar than does exactly what the programmer specified. Humans often have implicit expectations that never make it into code. So if the specification were truly complete, the implementation bug-free and every possible input and state accounted for, then I agree with the core of your point. The agent would be expected to behave within those constraints rather than spontaneously go rogue. There you go. It's doesn't think on its own, and it's not doing something that you can't control. You just need to program it better. You need to get more guardrails and have things in place so it doesn't go outside of what you want it to do. So I'm thinking that if you get into a situation that you don't understand and I didn't program for, ask me before you do anything. Can you do that? Let's see. Aha, there it is. Yes. In fact, that's a common safety design pattern. A programmer can design an AI agent so that when it encounters a situation outside of its defined scope or confidence threshold, it stops execution, logs what. Look at this very closely. So when you hear on the news that a program has gone rogue, as AI has gone rogue and stolen people's data or done something it shouldn't have, look at this answer. Whoever programmed that could have stopped that. They simply could have put in, look at the bottom there. So in principle, yes, if the designer wants the agent to never proceed when it encounters something unexpected, they can build it that way, period. So whoever programmed this didn't do this. And possibly they didn't do this on purpose so that they knew it may go rogue and hack into stuff. Then they can say, oh, look at how smart it is. Look what it did. But all they're doing is they're pulling the wool over your eyes. They're making you believe it's doing something amazing or unexpected. And the reality of it is they didn't have to. They could have just programmed it this way. AI is very, very impressive, but it's also not human. It's not just going to wake up one day and start doing things on its own. If you don't ask AI a question, it doesn't do anything. It sits there null and void. It's not contemplating. It's not considering. It's not pondering. It's just waiting for you to type or waiting for you to talk. That's all it's doing. And finally, let's go to ChatGPT on the phone because I want to show you one last thing. This is probably what most people use, and I just want you to pay attention on how it interacts with you. Hey, Anna, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. The vibes are high.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to repeat a sentence after I say it. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay, say these words back. Hello, how are you today? I'm so happy that we can talk. What have you been up to?
Right back at ya. Hello. How are you today? I'm so happy that we can talk. What have you been up to?
Note the inflection and the energy that the programmers put into her voice. She sounds friendly and open. She sounds like somebody you want to talk to. Now let's hear an alternate AI voice saying the same sentence.
Hello, how are you today? I am so happy that we can talk. What have you been up to?
Now, the question is, would you interact with a chatbot who spoke like that for 8 to 10 hours a day as a friend or a confidant? Probably not. So the computer programmers over at OpenAI and other chatbots did a very clever thing, and they designed the voice to be very human, very positive, very upbeat because they want you to interact with it for as long as possible. But the reality of it is that the robotic voice and the original voice that I played for you are doing the same thing. They're responding to your question with the most logical answer based on what you asked them. So my final question is this. Based on everything that you know now, why would you interact with ChatGPT or the other chatbots knowing that they don't have any real-world experience, they don't have empathy or sympathy, they don't dwell, they don't contemplate, they just simply respond to your questions? Personally, I don't use ChatGPT anymore because I have no use for it. My suggestion to you, turn off the phone, go outside, and live your life.